Hey class, Prof JC here, and I'm really excited about this entire summer, spending this entire summer with you virtually, obviously. And so how we're going to do that, as I explained kind of back at the beginning, is that we'll have these video podcasts every single week, and they'll run anywhere from 10 to 20 to 25 minutes. If I'm really excited about something, 25 to 30 minutes, but hopefully we'll keep them between about 10 to 20 minutes a piece. And we're just going to look at different issues surrounding purpose. And so I'm very excited about that. Those of you who've had me before, and I've talked to a few of you since this class started, you know that this is something I'm deeply passionate about. And so to be able to talk through that for 16 weeks and have a conversation with you and, to get there in Canvas and do all the writing, all that stuff, it's very exciting for me. So typically these videos will be recorded in my office, but I happen to be out of town, actually in Palm Springs this weekend, and so you're coming with me as we do this first video here for our class. So I'll have the videos available through YouTube links, but also, and I'm excited about this, I don't think I'll get it done for this video, but moving forward, I'll also have a podcast link for you to listen to, so that if you just want to drive and you want to pull up a podcast, it'll be on Apple Podcast and all that kind of stuff, Spotify or whatever, wherever you get your podcast. I'll make sure to make these podcasts available there too. So again, you can drive, you can get ready in the morning, you can do whatever it is, and I'll just go with you and we'll have the talk together. And then when you get a chance, you can fill out the questions. So the format will be, I'll just talk for a little while. Sometimes I'll share my screen and showcase something, and we'll just have a conversation. And then I'll leave you with the question and something that ties back to what we talked about in the video. You'll answer the question. That'll be how it goes. So today we're talking about, and those of you who had me before, this will be no surprise to you, but as we're starting a class where we're looking at this idea of leading with purpose, right? This is deeply important to me. And I think what we're going to talk about today, I personally believe this, and I'm giving the rest of my life to teaching this message wherever I go, that if you get down what we're going to talk about today, if you get it down on a personal level, you get it down on a team level, on an organizational level, it fits all of them, right? It can work for a vacation. It can work for a relationship that you want, a relationship that you're seeking. It can work for a job, or whatever it is. If you get this thing down that I'm getting ready to talk to you about, your PV/PVM, and I'll define that for you here in just a second. If you get this down for you, I promise you life's going to get a ton easier. Just things are going to work out. You'll have a very clear direction. That's part of our problem in life, is we just don't know where we're going. We're trying to figure it out. And it takes a lot of time to do that. And I would actually say that for most people, it's a process. It's a process of moving forward. And sometimes the process of moving forward, through that process of moving forward, you figure out exactly who you are. So let me share my screen with you real quick, and we'll dive in. And I hope that you can see that right there. Let's see if we just go all the way. We make this full screen. I don't know if this is going to work or not. There we go. I think you see me right up there in the corner as well. So here's what I want us to talk about, and I think that this is incredibly important. Discovering ourselves, reaching our full and highest potential. Again, I've talked about this a little bit before in a class that I gave before that half of you are on the call. So this will be an easy assignment for you, but I encourage you to listen because it's always just a good reminder. I showcased this picture of a mountain. I have a place. Now I don't live in. I live in Southern California, down in the East Lake region, and so there's what's called the Otay Mountain behind us. There's like San Miguel Mountain or Miguel Mountain. I think it's called San Miguel Mountain. It's like a big hill. If you come from Colorado or a place where there's actual mountains, it's like a big hill. But then off to the right of that is actually the Otay Mountain. And so I have this little trail that I walk back there probably 2 or 3 times a week, and it's my thinking trail. It's where I've made a lot of decisions. But on one of the mountains, you kind of see this trail. It looks kind of like this. And I should have just taken a picture to show you what I'm looking at every single day. But it looks kind of like this, where you've got these trails that go up the mountain, and you've got the crest there, you've got the mountaintop there, And so what I'm always doing is I'm walking past this mountain, right, that's way off in the distance, as I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, if 10 years ago I was down at the bottom of the mountain, where am I at on the mountain today? Because my hope, my goal, and my hope for you is that you desire to reach the top of the mountain as well. So I'm always looking at the mountain and trying to figure out, where am I on the mountain? And so that's just a personal thing that I do. But here's the point I'm trying to make, is that here's what I believe, that life is like a journey where we're going up a mountain. Okay. And every single day we get to choose how far we want to go up the mountain. Do we, climb a little bit and get to halfway up the mountain, and we set up camp there and we say that, hey, this is where I'm going to stay. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I'm not here to tell you that you have to crest the mountain. You have to go all the way up to the top, that you have to achieve all the way up there. You can, but you don't have to. So for some people, it's just, hey, I just want to get up to midway point in the mountain. There's a lot of people there on that part of the mountain, and I'll just set up camp there and I just have a good life, and that's great. A fewer people than that will want to go up a little bit further. Fewer want to go up further. Fewer will want to go up a little bit further, and that just kind of works. And very few people kind of reach the top. And the reason why they do is because it's really hard to reach the top of the mountaintop. Okay, it's not the easiest thing in the world. And those of you who are climbing, and that's what I love about this program. The fact that I've got master's students, masters of leadership, masters of business. You understand that when you're trying to climb the mountain, when you're trying to get better, it's not an easy role. So very few people do this, okay? But here's some questions that I want you to think about as we kind of talk through your PV-PVM today, okay? So some questions you may be asking right now is, which mountain do you climb? Because here's reality. Not all of us are on the same mountain. Most of us aren't. And here's what I would say. Life is like climbing a mountain, but each of us have our own mountain to climb. So it's not about comparing myself or about racing somebody up the mountain. It's my mountain. It's your mountain. We all have different mountains. And so we get to decide what mountains that we want to climb. And so if you go all the way back to when you were 16, 17, 18, if you think about it, very few people know what mountain, that they want to climb at that age. Very few people. Some people do, and I envy those people. I had to search and go around and serve in the military and work this job and work that job and work this job and live here and live there. And I had to go all over the place. Some of that was kind of that wanderlust that I had, growing up, but some of it was, I was just trying to figure it out. And some of you have the same story as well. So one of the questions you might be asking today is, which mountain do I climb? Right? So I see a bunch of mountains in front of me. I see a lot of different opportunities, and a mountain really is just an opportunity. And you see the top of that mountain, and you say, okay, I've got 6 different mountains in front of me. Which one do I climb? Well, when you understand your PV, your PVM, it helps you make that decision. And it might be, which path up the mountain do I climb? So maybe you've chosen the mountain that you want to take. But then you say, okay, there's the top of the mountain right there. How do I get up there? I see 6 different paths, right? One takes me around the mountain all the way up, and it's a little bit, might be a little bit easier. One is a straight path all the way up. That one's a lot harder, but I get there, quicker. I get there faster. There's other, different ones. One takes me through the woods. One has no woods, so you got to decide which path. And again, in a practical sense, what that means is that you're looking at opportunities and saying, how do I reach the crest of this opportunity? How do I reach the top of this opportunity, or whatever that is? Maybe it's a job. Again, maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a financial goal that you have. Maybe it's a goal that your team has, your organization. Again, this is leadership we're talking about here. So when you think about an organization, right, you think about a team, what does that look like to crest the mountain, right? You got to ask your question, do I even want to climb the mountain, right? Do I even want to go up this mountain? I've got 6 mountains in front of me. I finally chose the one I want. Do I really want this? Or do I just kind of want to stay where I'm at right now, where it's kind of safe and it's good? And again, a lot of people make that decision. I know a lot of people who make that decision, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to judge whether it's right or wrong to make that decision, but you have to make it. Do I want to climb the mountain? Do I want to do all the work that it's going to take to get up the side of the mountain? And then maybe you say, hey, Prof. JC, I know which mountain I want to climb, but here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little bit more clarity on my journey, right? I'm climbing the mountain, but I'm getting a little bit lost. But what I'm getting ready to talk to you, about today, again, on a personal level, on a team level, on an organizational level, if you get this down, everything else, I think, becomes easy. And again, it's called our PV-PVM. And what does it stand for? It's almost like what I would call a constitution, okay? So you might have a personal constitution, you might have a team constitution, you might have an organizational constitution, and here's what it could consist of. Your PV is are your principles and values, okay? And we'll talk about what those mean here in a second. And then once we know what our principles and values are, we begin to decide, what is my purpose, what is my vision, what is my mission? That's the same thing that can go for a team. The same thing can go for an organization. What are our principles? What are our values? And then what is our purpose? What is our vision? What is our mission? And here's the great thing about this. Here's the reason why I think all of this is so important for you to know, for me to know, for all of us to know, is because once we understand this, we know exactly where we're going and we know where we're not going to go. Okay, that's what I think trips up more people than anything. And you know, when I look back at my life, I'm 44 years of age now. When I look back at my life and I think about just lots of wasted time, especially in my 20s, you know, I grew up about 31, 32. I started to kind of get it all together. Maybe you have the same story as well, but about 31, 32, you know, I started realizing, okay, you know, life's not just gonna, you know, I can't be 25 forever. I can't be 22 forever, right? So I got to start growing up here. But I sure wish that I had thought about all of this back when I was in my teenage years, right? And I wish I would have thought about this back when I was in my early 20s. What is my goal? Where am I going? Because what I ended up doing is just going all over the place. And I'll be honest with you, right? I'm at a stage now where I can look back with a little bit of regret about some choices I made and some things I did wrong and some things I could have done better. And had I known these things right here, again, it helps you decide what you want to do, but also then what you do not want to do. Because once you know, here's the mountain I want to take, here's the path I want to take, then when other opportunities come along that are outside of that path, you say no to it because you realize that's not going to help me reach the goal that I want to get. As a leader, you say no to it. As a leader, you help your team to say no to it. You help your organization to say no to it. That's your job as a leader, is to figure out, where is my team going? How do we get there? And then say no to everything else that's going to take us off of our path. So let's dive in here. What is your PV, your PVM, your principles? That's the first P. And here's what this means, okay? The unwavering rules for your life, for your leadership, for your team, for your organization. These are the rules that no matter what stage you're in life, you do not break this rule. You know, it's interesting. I've taken a lot of classes through this, the PV-PVM, and we always do what we're getting ready to do here today, is I have you write these out. I have you think about this and write them out. What are my principles? Just write out 3 to start off with 3, because some of you don't have any of these, you know, written down. I mean, you might have the basic ones. You know, you probably heard of the 10 Commandments, right? You might say, well, those are mine, but probably, you know, some of you on the call, you know, today don't even know what the 10 Commandments are. I don't know what they all are, right? But I know I'm not going to murder anybody. That's never going to happen, right? I know that, you know, and have I thought about it? Of course. So, you know, so have you before, probably, if you're honest. You know, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to steal from you. You know, I'm not going to steal from anybody. That's just not my makeup, to go into somebody's house or into somebody's belongings and steal from it. It's just not something I'm going to do. I'm trying to think of all the other ones that are out there, right? You know, I don't necessarily have an issue of looking at somebody else's, what they have, and say, I want what they have, right? It just makes me get better. That's kind of where I'm at, where I say, well, they have a boat. I don't have a boat. I want a boat. So now how do I get a boat, right? So how do I get better in, you know, on my own path? So we all have those, but here's what's really important, is for you to decide, what are your principles for your own life? And I actually wrote some down. Hold on one second. I think I might actually have them here. No. You know, I've got them all on my computer. I actually wrote down 25 principles that I have for my life. And for instance, one of them is long-term thinking. Whenever I'm making a decision, I always stop and think, what's long-term? 3, 5, 10, even 20 years from now, what will this decision, what will I wish that I made when it comes to this, you know, when it comes to this decision? I think about relationships I have. I think about my job as a parent, right? If I'm always thinking about right now, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Always thinking long-term. So anyway, these are rules. You have to come up with your own, but these are rules that don't change no matter what you're going in, no matter what season. And you say, I will not change. I will not change. Okay. This is a principle of mine, and I will not change. So that's the first question I want you to answer today. In your response to this, I just want you to come up with 3. Okay. At some point, maybe you'll get to 25. Maybe you'll get to 30, maybe you'll get to 100 principles. There's a great book out there called Principles by Ray Dalio, and he's got hundreds of principles in there. Go find that book. Go listen to Ray Dalio, right? He'll give you some ideas on what principles are. But I want you to think about just 3, and I want you to write those down. My principles are, and again, it's just you and me that's going to see this, right? It's not anybody else. You're not going to see what anybody else is doing. So I want you to take time, and I want you to think about this. What are the rules that you don't change no matter what? Now we move to our values, okay? These are the behaviors I want to adopt at this season of my journey. So your values might be, so for instance, I'm in a season right now where I'm a parent, right? That's a very big thing for what I do. So when I think about my life and I think about the choices I want to make, especially as a parent, right? There are certain values I have. So one of the values I have, for instance, is on Sunday, I try not to do any work. Okay, that's something I try to do. That's just the value I have right now. That's just the behavior that I carry, right? I try not to do any work. And, certain times of the day, once that time hits, I try not to do any work after that. Why? Because I want to be there for my children. I want to be able to spend time with my kids. Think about some other values that I have. Now, mine are pretty simple, okay? And my values hopefully will carry me through, through all time. I call them the 6 C's. They're the calm, cool, collected, courageous, consistent, and there's one more there. There's one more there that I can't think of, right? But these are behaviors that I want to see on a regular basis. But you might have some other behaviors in there, right? But values are always tied to behaviors. It's always here's how I'm going to behave because this is what I believe. So again, if I have values that are tied to my parenting, right, those may go away in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, as my kids get older, they go into college and all that kind of stuff, and they're not around as much. Some of those values may change, right? But they're attached to behaviors. So again, when you're thinking about this, I want you to think about 3 behaviors that you want to adopt at this season of your journey. That's what a value is, okay? And you can look some up online. What are examples of values? But don't just throw down some, integrity, trust, whatever. What does that mean to you, right, at this season journey? Why is integrity important to you? Why is trust important to you, if those are the ones you choose? Whatever it is that you choose, and again, for me, it's like calm. I always want to be calm. I want to be cool. I want to be collected. I want to be consistent. I want to be courageous. Forget the last one. It's something that it has to do with clarity, but it's not quite there yet. But when I think about that, I think if I can nail all these things every single day, then I'm going to have a pretty good day. If I can be consistent, if I can be courageous, that means I make decisions, right? I make the tough choices. I make the hard choices, right? That means that meeting I don't want to go to, that appointment that I don't want to keep, that I could just call off and say I'm sick, I still keep that appointment, right? So whatever it is for you, you have to think about that, but those are your values. Now, once you get those done, and these are kind of the rules, right? You get your purpose and your vision done. Now you move into, you get your principles and your values done. Now you move into your purpose. Now again, I'm asking you to do this in just a matter of a few days. This actually takes a lot of time to figure out. Okay, it takes a lot of time. Some of you have figured it out. Some of you in this program, because of the assessments that you've taken, you're starting to get an idea about what you're meant to do. Some of you are in a season of transition and you had a purpose for the first 20, 25 years of your career. And now you're at a place where you're thinking, what's my purpose for the next 20 to 25 years, right? I don't want to quit yet. And so what do? Your purpose is the reason that you exist. And I actually wrote a book about this. I don't recommend anybody get it. I'm still writing. There's a rule out there. I heard John Maxwell say your first 6 to 7 books are going to be trash. And so I think I've written 4 books already. So I tell people, don't buy any of my books right now. I've got to get to that 7 mark. And then hopefully on the 8th book, it's going to be good. But I wrote a book about this because I was trying to figure out in my own life, what does it mean to discover your purpose? So there's a lot that goes into this. And there's a lot of articles you can read and all that kind of stuff. But I would say it has to do with something that you're deeply passionate about, something that troubles you. I am most troubled by poor leadership. I'm troubled by piss poor leaders. Okay, pardon my French there, but I heard that term in the military and it stuck with me. And I have met more poor leaders than I have met great leaders. And it really upsets me. And it keeps me up at night. It makes me want to write. It makes me want to teach them, right? So once I figured out that this was my passion, I knew I had to get going on that, right? To do consulting, to do teaching, to do writing, everything in my life. How do you develop great leaders? Because I know in organizations, you've all had them, horrible bosses, right? We all have the stories of horrible bosses. And so that's my purpose. So for you, I don't know what that looks like for you, but it's something you're deeply passionate about. And it's something that keeps you up at night. And it's something that probably frustrates you at times if that thing doesn't get right. That is your purpose. Now we move to what's called our vision, right? So once you have your purpose down, that's the reason. And again, this could be for you, this can be for the organization, for the team. Then we move into what's called your vision. Your vision is the destination you intend to go. It could be the destination your company intends to go. It could be the destination your team intends to go. But it is the destination that you intend to go. And you can see that destination. It's not some ethereal, well, I'm going to, like, you know, again, using my own example, if I'm going to be a leadership professor and consultant, I did this a long time ago, and I knew I was going to be a full-time professor somewhere. I never thought I'd be able to teach leadership. I mean, that's the most exciting thing. I thought it'd be like a business professor. I was going to take any job that was available to me, but I never thought I'd get actual leadership professor. So it's very cool. And then I always knew I'm going to be a consultant that trains leaders and that trains on leadership development, personal development, soft skills, all that within the workplace. And I got to tell you, I'm blessed and lucky enough to be there. But again, for me, it all started with all of this whole process that I'm talking to you about, but I could see it. I can see it, right? So when you talk about a vision, it's got to be something that you can see. So if you're thinking about your team, your organization, for yourself, it's like if somebody gets ready to take a vacation, they say, well, I'm going to go on vacation next month. Oh, great. And so you're talking to me. So, okay, so tell me where you're going. Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to go on vacation. Right? So you're going to go on vacation, which means you're going to vacate, right? You're going to vacate where you are. That means you need to recate. That's not even a word, right? But you need to reassociate or re-get or whatever you want to call it. You've got to get somewhere else to vacate where you are. That's what a vacation is. So where are you going to vacate to? Oh, I don't know, right? You can't do that, right? A good vacation means, well, I know I'm going to go on vacation and I'm going to go to New York City, right? That's the vision I intend to get to. I can see it. I can see the hotel I want to go to. I can see the shows I'm trying to get to. I can see the exact date on the calendar, right? I know exactly what that looks like. I know exactly when that's going to happen. That's the vision, okay? So you as a person need to have a clear definition of the vision for where you want to go, right? That, again, that's part of getting up the mountain. When you know exactly the destination, then again, when you get tired, you realize I'm not to my destination. I'm not to my vision. I'm not even close yet. So I might be tired. So that means I need to take a vacation. I need to go sleep a little bit, but that means I got to get back up tomorrow and I got to keep going. I think the worst thing in the world is a man or woman with no vision, because it's the person who just wakes up every day and just takes whatever's comes at them. And for some people, works out. For most of us, it doesn't work out that way. We've got to have someplace where we know we're moving to. Hopelessness, I think, in most people, and I think a lot of our young people today, I think they're hopeless for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is they lack vision. They have no idea where they're going, right? And the same could be for you as well. So we've got to know what our vision is. And then our final thing that we're going to talk about today is our mission. Our mission. I love this picture right here too, because and I think I'm pretty sure these are Army soldiers. I have an affinity towards Army soldiers. Obviously, I know there's a lot of Marines and Navy in this class, but I, as a former infantry soldier myself, Army infantry, have a lot of respect for these gentlemen right here, and of course, ladies as well. But what it looks like they're doing right there is planning out the mission. Now, the mission is, and I hear people all the time, and it's like nails on a chalkboard. They get this wrong. They get the vision mixed up with the purpose, and the mission mixed up with the vision. And that's right. Everything I'm telling you, this is how it is. I promise you this, okay? Your mission is how you intend to reach the destination. So let's go back to the vacation example. If I'm going to go to New York City from San Diego, I got to decide, am I going to take a plane, a train, an automobile? If I decide, okay, I'm going to drive there, okay? So what are all the hotels I'm going to stay in between now and New York City? When am I going to reach those different destinations on the way to the final destination, right? Where am I going to stay? What highways am I going to take to get there? What kind of car am I going to rent? Am I going to rent an SUV? Am I going to rent a four-door sedan? What kind of hotels am I going to stay at? Am I going to stay in cheap hotels or am I going to stay in nice hotels? Am I going to take some time and see the countryside as I'm driving across the country? Or is my goal just to get to New York City from San Diego in 5 days and just drive straight through? All of these things are the mission. And the same goes for your life. When you know what your purpose is, you know what your vision is, now you've got to decide what your mission is. And your mission is exactly how you're going to get there. Okay. So now I've left out the questions. So let's go back and hit up these questions. We just talked about our personal constitution. So here's how we'll answer our questions. So what are 3 principles that you have for life? Okay. And I want to know those, what those are, and then give me just a simple reason. Why did you choose that principle? But what are 3 values you have at this season of your journey? What are 3 behaviors you expect out of yourself, maybe your team? So you can look at this from a personal way. You can look at this from a leadership perspective. From a leadership perspective is you're saying for my team, my organization, right? Here's what it is. So you might have a business. You might be an entrepreneur. You might say, hey, for my business, I need to think through all of this. You might have a future business. So you want to think through all of this, okay? So you can do it from an organizational perspective, or you can do it from a personal perspective. But, tell me 3 principles, tell me 3 values, tell me what your purpose is, right? On a personal level, on an organizational level, tell me what that is. Tell me what your vision is, okay? And why is that your purpose? Why is that your vision? So just in 1 or 2 sentences, don't make this large paragraphs, right? If you can't articulate this in 1 or 2 sentences, you don't have it clearly down, right? You don't really know what your purpose is if it takes you a whole paragraph to try to explain it. You should be able to explain in 1 or 2 sentences, one really, here's what my purpose is. But then I want you to tell me a little bit more. Tell me why you chose that as your purpose. Tell me your vision. Again, you should be able to put that in about 1 sentence, okay? Tell me why that's your vision. So tell me what your vision is. Tell me why that is. And then I want to know what your mission is. Now, that could just be bullet points, okay? My mission is boom, 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 boom. Whatever it may be, okay? I'm excited for you. I believe in this because, as I shared with you before, I guess I didn't share the story, and I don't have time to share the story now, but I was on a path, a whole different path that was great. It was good. Life was going exactly where it needs. I was in ministry. I was doing some work there. But then I realized that that's not where I wanted to be. That's not where I needed to be. That's not where my skills and talents matched up. Took an executive assessment, went through a long process myself. I figured out most of this on my own, right? The executive assessment just kind of confirmed what I thought to be true. But I figured a lot of this on my own, kind of studying very successful people. How do they do it? What is it that they've done before? And then I came up with this PV-PVM. And then I probably spent a year or 2 trying to figure out that for myself. But it got me right to where I want to be. And I got to tell you, my life is exactly what I want it to be because I did this right here. So this isn't a story about me, but if you're on the call today and maybe you're not quite there yet, I think this can help you. And when we talk about leading with purpose, you've got to know what your purpose is for first. And if you're leading in an organization, you've got to help them know what their purpose is. And probably over the next few weeks, we'll talk about that. How do you communicate purpose? How do you help other people communicate purpose? Okay. And how do you share that with them so people get fired up about that? Hey, thanks so much for listening today. I got to get back out to the pool now, but I look forward to your responses, and I look forward to diving in there and kind of seeing what you believe you're created to do and what you're getting ready to do about it. You take care. I'll see you in the next video.